Hey everyone, welcome to the video. You are watching one of my first plant and growing videos of 2021. So this is kind of exciting. I used to just work these little gardening tidbits into my other videos or vlogs, but I think because I've gotten started early enough and there's quite a few things going on that I want to do slightly more specific plant and gardening updates for you. This is hopefully the one of a few more to come. I wasn't sure exactly where to begin with this little mini series and what you all want to see, so I thought we'd start off by just talking a little about my current situation. I'll try to insert some little clips of what's happening in my space. I am currently living in quite a different space than I used to a couple of years ago, and I think the space, although slightly smaller in the outdoor area, does do well in terms of sunlight, and I have a lot of things happening at the moment. I just wrote down my list of all the plants and the gardening things I want to talk to you about, and it is quite an extensive list already. Now, of course, as you watch this, should anything pop up and you want to know, you want like a mini video particularly about either certain plants and want to see what's happening with them, or if you want me to talk about my planters and things like that, I'm happy to in a separate video. I just kind of want to lay the foundation and then maybe let you guys lead the way in terms of what content you want to see about my plant life. So I am currently living in an apartment space, as I'm sure many of you do, and all of my gardening has to happen in planters. My outdoor patio space, I tried to look up exactly the measurements. I couldn't find it. So I'm just gonna say it's a small-ish balcony. Once you open the door, you can probably take a good like five or six medium steps, maybe 5 steps in either direction. I can fit a small patio table out there with a small chair, and I currently have 2 plant risers and just another mini table that the last tenant had left. I just kept it outside for now as a plant semi-situation for now. My plant risers, I've had them for a few years now. They're from IKEA. They are the HYLLIS, and they've been serving me well so far. I keep thinking about other ways to do some more vertical gardening, but a lot of the vertical systems are quite expensive and I wasn't quite ready to build my own yet. I think in the future though, if I go somewhere with a bit more space, I'll definitely look at building my own setup, but right now the HYLLIS works just fine and I have planters on there. Now, living on the Pacific Northwest coast in the Vancouver greater area, I think we are called, I've got notes here, I think we're hardiness zone 8, around there. Currently, as I'm filming this, we are in the month of just edging into May, and we're getting a good amount of sunlight. The sun comes up about 6-ish and then sets at about 8:30. Not all the days are sunny, but it is quite bright out, and even indoors I have good floor-to-ceiling windows, which allows most of my plants to live indoors or out depending, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. Now, I do want to, I think for this video, run you through my little progression of starting this year's gardening, and then what are still alive, and as we talk through them, which babies are dead, because I have definitely already killed a few in the last like 2 months. I started gathering my seedlings and indoors, but I started purchasing some stuff about a month, possibly 2 months ago. I don't remember exactly the date, and I think I have clips of most of these, so as I talk through them, hopefully you'll get to see a little clip in there. Oh, and side note, this one back here doesn't usually belong here, but since we're talking plants, I figured it made more sense to put him here rather than my fan. So you can look at that guy while we chat. So I am, like I said, fairly lucky to have floor-to-ceiling-ish windows and a good ledge all around, so I can put some indoor things to start off with. While I could have put a cover on my outdoor riser thing and then kept it as a mini greenhouse, because the HYLLIS does come with covers you can buy that zip on and zip off. I just didn't want to be bothered. So when I first got started, I kept most of my things indoors. It was only recently that I brought some outdoors as well. But round one, some of the things I bought, a mini rose plant, which looked beautiful, and I thought was like going to be really fun. I can do some flowers, and it was already blooming when I picked it up from the garden shop. However, as of May, it is dead. I think it might be some root rot, even though I planted it in a draining container and I fed it well. I think maybe I felt like maybe I overwatered, but then if it drains, it should have been fine. Maybe it had too much sun. I thought mini roses like sun, but that one has already passed on. From that first round, I also bought some purple sage, which I thought smelled really beautiful. I kept seeing people do stuff with, like, you know, herb butter, like sage butter, blah, 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 and that really intrigued me. But that one very quickly grew mold and then aphids, and I was at work and I didn't have time to like focus my attention on it, and by the time I found it, I think it was beyond salvage, so I set that one off to the compost. So that's, I just wanted to like clear that out first because the rest of them are still alive. I also had picked up a lavender plant. Oh no, I lied, the lavender is also on its way out. I don't know what is happening with the lavender. When I bought it, it seemed fine. It wasn't the biggest or sturdiest lavender. I transplanted it. I kept it indoors. Maybe it doesn't like being indoors. It just started like blah, you know, so I took it outside for a while, but I don't think it's gonna make it. I do have a lavender plant that I had bought 2 years ago that I thought was dead. I really pruned down, and then magically when the weather started warming up this year, I have little baby shoots coming from the ground. So while one is dead, one came back from the dead. So we're evening out 1 to 1. So the lavender I bought this year didn't live past like 3 weeks, and that one's gone. In the same run, I bought a spider plant, which is currently doing quite okay. It had a bit of an issue with sun and humidity. I think I oversunned it. I thought it needed a lot of sun. I put it by, you know, the windowsill. We had a couple days of a lot of warmth and direct sunlight, and it was not happy with me. So I think it's recuperated. It's got some little scarring from being dried out, but I think that one is fine. I also bought an English ivy. I wanted some kind of a trailing plant. I still need to work on how to grow English ivy because in its current container, I'm not sure if the container is just too small for it to grow, which would be fine. I liked it small, but it just wasn't doing a whole lot. So I gotta do some research about that. But currently, English ivy is still alive. I also bought a rosemary plant, and the rosemary, I transplanted that as well. It stayed indoors. It was okay for like a little while, and then it just started looking kind of sad. Like it wasn't ready to give up on life, you know, but it was a little droopy. It wasn't firm. And then I took it outside actually and just sprayed it down a bit and kept it outside, and it seemed to do fine. So now it's bounced back and it's living outdoors because it's warm enough, and I think that's where I'll leave it. I had the intention of starting an indoor herb garden and doing some vertical gardening. I bought little self-watering planters, which had these, I guess, cotton cords that dipped into the bottom water catchment, and it's self-watered in that way. They're meant to be small, so I can put a picture hanging nail and hang them onto the wall and have some vertical herbs indoors. And I actually chose a really sunny spot, but I think some of these herbs didn't want that much sun, and it might be a little bit too much. So sometimes I do still take them off the wall and just rotate them around. In my brain, it was a great idea. But yeah, for example, the rosemary, I'm gonna, you know, unpot it from the self-watering one and just bring it outside and just let it hang out outside. I guess some herbs are just not super adapted to being indoors. They rather prefer the circulation of the outdoor air. And that is definitely one of those things, because when I'm at work, you know, I don't keep my windows and blinds. Well, I keep some blinds open, but I don't keep my windows open. So I don't think they get enough circulation, and sometimes they get mad about that. All right, so from round 1, a few survivors and a few have passed on. Then a little while after that, I went in for round 2 and round 3. And my mom actually dropped off some stuff for me during this time as well. So in round 2, I had picked up some Genovese basil. Basil had ended up being one of my favorite things to grow. I grew some last year, actually I think 2 years in a row. I don't know if they overwinter, but I've just bought new ones every year because they're not too expensive and they produce really well, especially in the warmer season. I am now really spoiled after making my own pesto that anything now out of a jar, I'm just like, you know. So last summer I made just enough to freeze into little ice cubes and then use them like sparingly throughout the cold season, and now I'm down to like my last 2 cubes of pesto. I still keep a jar of store-bought just in case, but the homemade ones are like pretty good, even though I'm not a great pesto maker to begin with, and if I can do it, then like it's fine. So basil is still alive. They're not growing a whole lot, but they're alive from when I bought them. My mom dropped off some peas. I think they're sweet peas or snap peas or something like that. She planted them for me and got them started. Now they are currently climbing on a DIY-ish trellis. I think I should have gotten a tomato trellis where it's circular because mom planted them in a circular pot, but I made the decision to do a flat trellis, and I think now they're a little bit fussy with me because they're not climbing the way they want to climb, or maybe the way I want them to climb. Regardless, the peas are still alive. They're doing pretty good. They're about this tall now, I think, the tallest shoots, but they have not flowered or grown any peas yet. Along with that, mom dropped off some strawberries. She took one off of a runner that she had and plotted that in the pot. It recently just bloomed a couple of flowers, so I'm assuming some very many, you know, first strawberries will be out. This is my first time raising strawberries myself. Mom has done them for a few years, but I don't think hers look that great, so I don't know, maybe I'll have better luck. I know that you can kind of keep them over the years, is my understanding, and I've seen some people grow them in pots very successfully without having to do multiple small pots, but like one large, quite bushy pot of strawberries. So we'll see how that goes. Those 2 are more experimental for me. Then from the shops, I bought a thyme plant, and that is actually flourishing so well right now. I need to actually trim it today because it's getting a little leggy, but that's doing really good. I bought some lemon balm, which I don't have a lot of experience with, but the aroma just smelled really wonderful. I'm not sure how to use it yet. I've heard people use it in herbal teas and sometimes for cooking. I gotta do a little research, or if you know, leave it down for me in the comments. But those got a little too clumped up together. I had to split them apart and they got a little aphid problem. I dealt with that. I think it's okay for now, but I think they just got too crowded and too bushy at the root, and it was just not a good situation. So I am monitoring them for now, but they are a little fussy. Ooh, something else I picked up, I think actually in round 1, was a grapefruit mint. I initially wanted to look for a mojito mint, and at that particular store they didn't have one that I could find at the time, so I bought some grapefruit mint. That thing is doing just fine as long as you water it enough and keep it out of the direct sun. Is like happy as anything, and I've actually already cut off 2 of the tips and have rooted them in another pot to maybe give away. Maybe I'll trade mom for something. I'll give her a grapefruit mint and maybe she'll swap me something else. So that's kind of round 1 and round 2. Some of the other non-vegetable things I've gotten is that monstera over at the back. It is quite large. It just came from the grocery store, and I have cut off a few of the stems with the nodes, and I'm going to try and propagate them. It was just a little too bushy. I still think it's kind of overly crowded right now, but we'll see. I didn't want to do too much to it too quickly. What else did I buy from the shops? I think that is the monstera is really just my big one. Oh, I did recently buy some curly leaf parsley. This is now like round 4 of going to the gardening and plant stores. And then I also bought a potted, pre-started, trellis set up pot of some sweet peppers. I'm usually not into the fruiting variety of things, but a lot of people have a lot of success with peppers in pots. I don't eat spicy, so I got the sweet peppers, more bell peppers and stuff like that. At the garden place, they already have it planted in a mix for you. Now, are they gonna cross-pollinate and mess themselves up? Probably, but I assume they're all sweet and it will just be fine. It came with a planter. It was already potted. It's a good feet tall, and it's got a built-in trellis already, so you just kind of take it home and prune it and feed it, and it should be good to go. I have planted a few things from seeds or from scraps as well. Some things I find just not worth coming from seed because the seeds are so tiny and it takes so much work to get them going. So I have green onions. So when I go to the grocery store, I look for the green onions that have the really good roots and that are like really chunky. I buy those, I snip off and keep the bottoms with the roots, and they plant them and they always do just fine. Those are really easy and quick. I put some cilantro into the pot, but I think they're really slow. They're not coming out of their shells. I might be doing something wrong. I need to do some research there. Cilantro seeds are from mom from like last year or something like that. I currently have, and they have just started coming out, some mixed lettuce greens that I'm not going to grow to head. I'm just going to harvest them kind of loose. So that is happening. I've seen them come out recently. I have also just put into the ground some arugula. One of my favorite pizzas to have is prosciutto arugula pizza. It's just so wonderful. That's what I always get. Now that I've perfected the pizza dough, I just gotta grow myself some arugula. I don't really eat it for salad, but I love it on top of a good freshly baked pizza. I have also put in some flowers, or attempted to put in some flowers. I've got some cosmos in the pot. We'll see if they come out or not. I have some microgreens that I am experimenting with, growing from, I think, white peas, something like that. I just bought it from the grocery store, like as dried peas and beans. I'm gonna see how they go, just experimental. And I have actually, and hopefully I'll have a picture to put up here, successfully sprouted some little seed sprouts and used them as garnish for some food. So that worked out just fine, and I know that is pretty successful. Now, do I have other things I want to plant? Yes, but being that this video is already like 18 minutes and all I've done is pretty much listed all of my little plant babies, I think I might need to take a break from planting new things. However, I am excited to keep showing you the progress of my plants, and if there's any major harvest, you let me know from after watching this video specifically what you would like to see more of or learn more about in terms of my small space apartment style urban gardening. I don't have any expensive systems or anything like that. A lot of, actually I think most of my planters come from the dollar store, either as planters or repurposed containers in some way. I've been experimenting planting things in different vessels, shall we say, and just seeing how they work. Some plants don't need very deep soil, and you can use a variety of things, and I have them kind of in somewhat of a setup outside on the balcony, and I'm just really excited to have things grow and eat them. So if you enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below, share with me your thoughts. Are you planting this year? What are you planting? What have you had real good success with? I'd love to hear more about that. I will see you very soon in the next gardening video. Bye everybody.